Welcome to the Panther Force YouTube channel. This is Ward. Today I am featuring a run that's considered off-meta, a rapid assault hit without Trajann, featuring a friend of mine, Jake, in the Panther Force Guild Raven Guard. He chooses to bring Snot into the avatar of Cain. I will use this opportunity to point out some AI manipulation of avatar that you can bring to your fights. So even if this exact fight doesn't really help you, I think the commentary will help a lot of players, even those who haven't played in a while. So, briefly, the two main avatar actives are the Wailing Doom and the Wrath of Cain Unleashed. The Wailing Doom active means that he will either sweep a cone of hexes in front of him or strike a 2-hex line that comes from his right hand. It does do a smidge of damage when it hits and sets the hex on fire, and a lot of melted damage hits at the end of the turn for any unit still standing on one of these glowing hexes. The Wrath of Cain Unleashed means that he will stand still at the start of the turn 3, and then the following turn do flame damage to any unit within 3 hexes. Any flames are extinguished, and any units adjacent to Avatar gets pushed. If you get pushed into a wall into a friendly big target unit, you will take an additional 20% max health direct damage as well. He has a few passives to keep in mind. Blood Runs, Anger Rises, War Calls means that he will summon 2 guardians from one of the corners of the map. This is a random spawn, but he will not repeat a spawn location 2 times in a row. You can also block these with units or Biovore Spores to manipulate this a bit. The Bloody Hand passive means that all Eldari adds don't care about the flame hexes as they get the Unstoppable trait, and they do bonus damage to any unit on a fire hex, so they really can hurt. So the avatar turn order: turn 1, stare menacingly; turn 2, sweep or strike; turn 3, prepare for wrath; turn 4, get wrathed and then sweep or strike; turn 5, sweep or strike; turn 6, melee attack. The sweep first strike you can influence, so let's see how Jake does it. So the Avatar AI is quite simple in practice. At almost every single turn, he will decide whether or not to sweep or strike, to set on fire all the hexes in front of him, or to do so in a line of hexes. The melted damage that hits any unit who is still standing on fire hits at the end of each turn. So at the beginning, he looks at all of the targets that have survived and chooses sweep or strike based on the number of units that he can hit. Keep in mind, the strike comes from his right hand, so he can never actually strike the right 2 hexes on the side of the map. And importantly, he does not consider units in healing hexes; they simply do not exist to him. So after turn 1, our player Jake gets a sweep attack. Since he has an easy sweep in front of him, he does not need to move. Sweep is fine. It can make it more challenging to move your units, since there are now more fire hexes and they can easily get stuck. If he had a Mythic Galatian, some big target unit such as Boss, or if this was a level 1 avatar, he could use this position to secure high ground on one of the hexes behind him and put some big target units to tie him in. This can secure you high ground for the entire fight. Now, I don't think sweep here was a mistake. Because he rushed forward so aggressively, he does secure high ground with Ragnar on the first turn. And because he howls, he gives all of his units unstoppable, so they can just ignore the fire. I do wonder why he did not choose to hit Avatar with Snot. Snot's normal attack with Ragnar Howl actually hits pretty hard. Instead, he chooses to kill the ads that have spawned in the bottom left. He may have had difficulties with the ads on prior runs and just chooses to kill them now. He also does get to spawn some grots, which can be pretty important too. Also, nice job here moving Dante side to side to buff everyone. I feel like people forget this way too much. In addition, I think it's really important to highlight that he did not kill this warlock here. Why not? Well, remember, ads will move block their own boss. If the ad was dead, he likely would have moved down 1 hex to get 4 units in the sweep instead of just 3. The ad being alive means he can't. Because he can't, you keep high ground with the Ragnar Howl. Really, really, really nice detail here. There are other ways he could have played this in order to get a strike instead of the sweep, but let's move on for now. On the next turn, Avatar moves away in order to start channeling his wrath. I don't really know why. Sometimes it feels like he really wants to be adjacent to your units on this turn. Sometimes it feels like he wants to favor a specific place on the map, but in this case, he goes to midfield. At this point, if you're on a fire hex at the end of this turn, just prepare to die if you can't tank the Avatar Wrath. And if you can't tank it, you must be 4 hexes away. But Avatar moving away actually helps out as Dante can't active a unit adjacent to him. But his active is why the units tank the Wrath without losing a ton of health. Even some Grots live. Which, because the Grots live, it makes him strike south. He can't strike elsewhere. He can't do his fire strike on the right side of the map. It's physically impossible since it comes from his right hand. Ragnar is invisible to him since he's on a healing hex. He could have stepped north to sweep Carrion and Karn, but it's either a 50-50 when he can get 2 units with either attack profile, or his AI realizes that he can kill the Grots with the fire damage, so he wants to do that. The rest of the fight more or less plays out as it ought to. His units just hits away. He uses Dante very well to buff the damage units as much as possible. Carry is still stacking his passive and needs to active on turn 6. But what's very clever is on turn 5 he uses Biovore to block the south right spawn. You may not know that this was possible, but a Biovore rank 1 spawn can prevent the ads from spawning entirely. In this fight, it's not as important here as his units are still pretty healthy, but Neuro and Avatar must learn to block unoptimal spawns, else risk close combat weakness on Neuro. Spores can do it, ads can do it, units can do it. And then on a final point, turn 6 Avatar always melees. Every time. And he goes for the kill or the weakest unit he can reach. In this case, it was a Grot that got sacrificed to the cause. In other fights, if the weakest unit you really, really need to live, you actually need to move block Avatar with another unit. So, in the end, not too bad. I don't think there was much he could have improved here. Jake demonstrated good understanding of buffing via Dante. He got high ground on Ragnar Hall. Considering all possible replacements for Trajann, Snot's okay. It works on Avatar because the Grots can distract the ads. The Guardians can hit pretty hard, especially if you end up on a fire hex and you can't always avoid that. LD is probably better all for the composition, but you can't bring it on Avatar because Eldari. So that's all I got. I hope this was helpful to some people. If it was, please drop a comment down in the section below. And as always, if you still have a referral code, please consider using mine. That way you can get some free Blackstone as well. Thanks again, and see you on Discord.